The text messaging part of Grower's Edge is very handy because every day I'll receive a text that shows me where the best local market is.
That's what I like about Grower's Edge too. It gives me the information I want on my smartphone so that if I'm not in the office, I still get the information that I need.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. Today is the 17th. It's a Thursday. We had export sales early this morning. We also had the Fed announcing whether or not they're going to raise or keep interest rates unchanged here at zero. We'll talk a little bit more about both of those events later on in the show. But before we go any further, let's turn over to the Grain Hedge trading platform, see where we closed off the day. Corn trading down 5.5 cents, soybeans down 3 cents, and wheat in Chicago here trading down 5.5 cents. Now, we did get a nice announcement out this morning. It was a nice reportable sale to China for 298,000 metric tons of 1516 soybeans. So a nice reportable sale there on top of respectable export sales, which we'll get into here in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about that Fed interest rate. Around 2 o'clock Eastern time, what we saw is the Fed come out and basically leave rates unchanged. What we saw in the grain markets was really a very muted response to that, nothing too significant. So now expectations, I would say, is for rates to be left unchanged. Basically, they were citing outside economies. They were mentioning that the U.S. economy and labor market seems to be picking up, but outside economies across the world could have a negative impact on U.S. growth. And so leaving interest rates unchanged there. Not a huge reaction in the market to that. Also today we did see the Egypt grain buyer there, GASC, issue a tender for 55 to 60,000 metric tons of wheat. This morning we saw Strategy Grains cut their forecast for the 2015 EU corn crop by 2.3 million metric tons, down to 57.4 million metric tons. The company also raised their forecast for EU soft wheat up 3.5 million metric tons to 147.5 million metric tons. Let's turn our attention over to the charts here. I just want to kind of show you where we are in terms of the overall charting landscape. You'll notice this is a November soybean daily chart. Each one of these bars is representing 1 day worth of price activity. And you'll notice the last 3 days we've been hanging right around that 890 area, just a little bit below it. That is a critical point in my opinion. It is where we gapped lower. We've been trading underneath that point, unable to close above it for quite some time. My feeling here is that if we can close above 890, it could open up the door for a little bit of short covering, a little bit of a soybean rally here. So just be cautious of that. I do suspect that we will most likely be trading lower to test these lows eventually over the next 3 weeks, but it is quite possible we could get a few days of rallying here if we get a strong day for soybeans closing up above 890. So just be cautious of that. When you look at the December daily corn chart, each one of these bars represents 1 day worth of price activity. Yesterday, I talked about this a little bit. We talked about the 100-day moving average. We said back in August here, we tried to get above it, were unable to do so, and it led into some selling pressure. Today, we had more selling pressure. Last few days, we've tried to stay above that 100-day moving average, haven't been able to do so. I think that 100-day moving average is going to continue to offer up resistance, especially when you take into consideration the yield estimates here for corn and the yield estimates for soybeans. In general, I wouldn't be surprised to see more selling pressure there. So that 387 100-day moving average offering up some significant resistance here on the daily chart. Now let's turn our attention to the export sales report, which was released out at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock, was released out at 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. What we saw for corn, soybeans, and wheat all coming within analysts' expectations. We saw corn with 533,000 metric tons. That was within analysts' expectations, which ranged between 400 to 600,000 metric tons. Soybeans between 900,000 metric tons and 1.3 million metric tons. Those were the expectations. What we got was a nice sales week of 912,000 metric tons, and wheat here with 377,000 metric tons sold. That was within analyst expectations. That was up 30% over last week, so very positive there for wheat sales. Guys, that wraps up today's show. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, please give the office a call. The number is 877-472-4607. Remember, if you haven't done so already, take a demo of our 14-day free trial at grainhedge.com. You'll see what it's like to have live quotes in the palm of your hand and be able to place practice trades from your desktop computer. It's a fantastic tool for grain marketers out there. I'd encourage you to at least take a look at it and see if it's right for you. Not only that, but over here at GrainHedge, we do have $7 commissions per side. That's usually a lot lower than what folks are paying out there, so it definitely warrants. Oftentimes it'll pay to just take a look at GrainHedge and see if the tools that we have here for grain marketers will help your operation. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here on Friday for the weekly wrap-up.